Take a deep breath, relax, and let these words carry you into another world. A world where legends come alive and forgotten histories whisper once more. In today's story, we're diving into some of the greatest mysteries of human history. The ancient wisdom of Enoch, the powerful Anunnaki of Sumer, the pyramids of Egypt, and the echoes of the Great Flood remembered by civilizations across the globe, from Mesopotamia to the Maya. Have you ever wondered if these legends are connected? Stay tuned, because the deeper we go, the more the line between myth and reality begins to blur. Have you heard of this before? If not, stay with me, because what you're about to discover may change the way you see history forever. Please hit the like button, share with friends, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps keep these mysteries alive for future explorations. Now let's step into the mystery together. Forgotten Chronicles, Enoch, Anunnaki, and the hidden history of mankind. Enoch was a unique figure in the Bible, mentioned in the book of Genesis as the man who walked with God and then was no more because God took him away. In ancient writings, especially the Book of Enoch, he is described as the one taken up into the heavens, who witnessed the layers of heaven, the fallen angels, and received revelations about the future of mankind. For this reason, Enoch is often regarded as a bridge between humanity and the divine, as well as an inspiration for many theories about the connection between gods and men. Enoch spoke of a time when mankind would turn away from the truth, glorify evil, and lose its connection with the Creator. A time of spiritual darkness, when the fallen angels would no longer remain imprisoned, but return to sow chaos and manipulate the minds of men. An age where greed, power, and violence would drive humanity to the brink of destruction. Have you ever wondered, is the history of humankind, as we have been taught, truly the whole story? What if the myths of gods from ancient times were not mere products of imagination, but distorted memories of real events? This is not just a tale, but a hypothesis powerful enough to shake the very foundations of our beliefs. The gods who descended in the secret of planet Nibiru. In the memory of ancient civilizations, the image of gods descending from the heavens is a recurring theme. They were described as radiant beings, bringing fire, metals, and knowledge far beyond the grasp of early mankind. Yet in the writings of the Sumerians, their true home was not a vague heaven, but a specific planet, Nibiru, the wandering star of the cosmos. According to legend, Nibiru was a massive planet with a harsh elliptical orbit, moving far from the sun, only to return after thousands of years. Each time it drew near, the earth trembled, climates shifted, and humanity witnessed changes of destiny. In the Sumerian clay tablets, Nibiru was not only a celestial body, but the very origin of the gods. From there, the Anunnaki, those who came down from heaven, set forth, bringing tools, powers, and a hidden purpose as they stepped upon our blue planet. They did not arrive as phantoms or illusions, but with tangible bodies riding upon fiery ships that later generations would call divine chariots. Nibiru was thus both homeland and base, the place that held the secrets of human beginnings. In Mesopotamia, they were remembered by many names: Enki, the Lord of Water and Wisdom; Enlil, the Master of Storms and Law; Ninhursag, the Mother of all living things; and many other deities. These gods did not merely observe, but took part directly in human history. They taught men how to grow grain, build cities, forge bronze, and write. Yet alongside knowledge, they also brought conflicts, divisions, and even catastrophes of punishment. The towering ziggurats on the plains of Sumer were believed to be bridges between heaven and earth, landing platforms for the gods to return to Nibiru or descend again to earth in mysterious cycles. Many theories suggest that each time Nibiru appeared near Earth, it marked a turning point in history. It could be the dawn of a new civilization or the downfall of an old dynasty. The Great Flood, according to some speculative researchers, may have been linked to Nibiru's approach, when its immense gravitational pull triggered global geological upheaval. This raises a fearful thought. Are we now living in the silence between two returns of Nibiru? And if so, what will the next bring? Illumination of knowledge or the long night of destruction? Strangely, not only the Sumerians, but many other civilizations spoke of strange planets or stars of destiny. The Babylonians wrote of Marduk, the bright star from the north. The Maya left the Tzolk'in calendar tied to unusual cosmic cycles. Even in some Egyptian traditions, there was mention of the red star of return, the bringer of both life and death. All these fragments seem to suggest a single picture, that mankind has never lived solely under the rule of the familiar heavens and earth, but has always been influenced by a distant power, Nibiru and its gods. The traces of God across the earth. Massive architectural wonders, mysterious reliefs, and small statues have been found all over the world. They depict beings with large heads, striking eyes, no mouths, and halos around their heads. Images that recall extraterrestrial entities wearing some kind of special device. In the ancient Indian texts, the Vimanas were described as the flying chariots of the gods, capable of carrying destructive weapons, a kind of ancient aircraft. Could all of these images, arising from different cultures, truly be coincidences, or are they evidence of visitors from the cosmos? Paleoanthropologists determined that Homo sapiens appeared about 300,000 years ago. For tens of thousands of years, humans behaved much like the great apes, showing little distinction. But then suddenly, around 50,000 to 100,000 years ago, mankind experienced an extraordinary leap in intellect, technology, and culture, what we now call the cognitive revolution. What triggered this explosion? The Mesopotamian epic Atrahasis recounts in detail the Great Flood. The heavens roared, the earth shook, and waters engulfed all things for many days and nights. The storm was so terrible that even the gods themselves trembled before the destructive force they had unleashed. One of the most compelling theories suggests that they possess the ability to harness free energy, an infinite source capable of powering machines, spacecraft, and the construction of colossal monuments. Could it be that this knowledge was lost, and that today humanity is merely attempting to rediscover what once was ours? In the cuneiform tablets, the lesser gods, the Igigi, were described as a labor force, toiling endlessly in the mines to extract gold for the Anunnaki. When the burden became unbearable, they revolted. It was this rebellion that led to the decision to create mankind, a being designed for labor, to free the gods from their toil. Then the Lord God formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. This passage of the Bible, when read alongside Mesopotamian texts, reveals another perspective on the original purpose of creation. Enoch was carried through the heavens, where he beheld visions both terrifying and glorious. Angels fallen through sin, souls imprisoned in eternal darkness. Radiant realms where the destinies of mankind were inscribed, and higher heavens where the faithful angels never ceased to praise God. He described a cataclysmic event, light vanishing, seas rising, and ancient beings awakening from the abyss. These prophecies, when compared to our present reality, unnatural disasters, wars, moral decay, send a shiver through the reader. What was once dismissed as fanciful is now studied by many scholars as a part of a hidden prophecy. Is this merely exaggerated legend or a message sent to humanity? Perhaps it is today's readers who are chosen to answer that question. At traces in the Bible and the Book of Enoch. Among the most controversial ancient religious texts, the Book of Enoch stands out as a mystery concealed for millennia. It was not included in the canonical Bible, yet it was quietly preserved in Ethiopia and only rediscovered by scholars in recent centuries. What makes it unique is that its content transcends the boundaries of religious myth. It contains prophecies, terrifying visions, and details that compel the reader to ask, are these myths or records from an ancient source of knowledge? The Book of Enoch recounts the rebellion of the angels, the race of giants known as the Nephilim, maps of the heavens, and even a global purification. Enoch, the central figure, is the only person in the Old Testament said to have been taken into heaven while still alive. He is believed to have seen things beyond human comprehension, then recorded them as warnings for future generations. Enoch, the man who did not taste death. In the entire Bible, only two figures are said to have never experienced death, and one of them is Enoch. According to Genesis, Enoch walked with God, and then he was no more, because God took him away. That brief verse became one of the Bible's greatest mysteries. No funeral, no grave. Enoch simply vanished, as if lifted out of the material world and taken into another dimension. Enoch was the fifth generation descendant of Adam, the father of Methuselah, the longest living man in the Bible. He lived 365 years, a number of symbolic meaning, reminiscent of the full cycle of time. Yet his uniqueness was not only in his lifespan, but in how he lived, steadfast in righteousness amidst a fallen world, devoted to God without seeking fame or reward. For this reason, he was chosen to bear witness to divine revelations of great magnitude. According to ancient texts, Enoch was carried into the heavens and shown truths beyond human understanding. The fall of the angels, the existence of the Nephilim, the map of the heavens, the order of the cosmos, and visions of humanity's future. What he saw became the foundation of the Book of Enoch, an apocalyptic text that continues to stir debate to this day. The contents of the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch is divided into 5 main parts, each reflecting different aspects of the ancient worldview. The Book of the Watchers recounts the fallen angels who left heaven, united with human women, and gave rise to the giant Nephilim. The Book of Parables, a collection of prophecies emphasizing the day of judgment and the coming of the righteous one who will restore justice. The Astronomical Book, detailed descriptions of the universe, the celestial bodies, the movements of the sun, moon, and constellations. The Book of Dreams, visions of human history and future, including the events leading to the Great Flood. The Epistles of Enoch, messages addressed directly to future generations, regarded as guidance for righteousness and faithfulness. What is remarkable is that much of the content surpasses the knowledge of the ancient world. Its descriptions of layered heavens, celestial orbits, and the concept of three-dimensional space leads some scholars to believe that it contains not only religious symbolism, but also traces of astronomical knowledge, or perhaps insights from a source beyond the earth. Why was the Book of Enoch excluded from the Bible? As early as the 2nd century AD, Christian church fathers fiercely debated whether the Book of Enoch should be recognized. Some argued that it was divinely inspired, written under the guidance of God, but the majority feared its content was too unorthodox, filled with accounts of fallen angels, Nephilim, and heavens absent from the Old Testament, concepts that could lead believers into metaphysical notions beyond the church's control. Thus, the book was excluded from the official canon, yet in Ethiopia, the Tewahedo Orthodox Church continued to regard it as sacred heritage. In stone churches thousands of years old, handwritten copies of the Book of Enoch have been preserved with care. With over 45 million faithful, they believe it to be a divine record of the covenant between God and mankind. Today, as ancient manuscripts like the Dead Sea Scrolls are re-examined, many Western scholars have begun to see the Book of Enoch as a missing piece, perhaps even a key to unlocking other mysterious texts, such as the Book of Revelation in the New Testament. The Visions of Enoch. According to tradition, before being taken into the heavens, Enoch gathered the people and left them with his final words. They were not words of farewell, but sacred instructions. Live humbly, remain faithful, and hold fast to the truth. When the destined moment arrived, he was lifted up in radiant light before the eyes of thousands of witnesses. On his journey through the heavens, Enoch beheld scenes both magnificent and terrifying. Angels collapsing under the weight of their sins, souls imprisoned in darkness, and radiant realms where the destiny of humanity was inscribed. He was also shown the coming of a great flood, not merely a historical event, but part of a recurring cycle of purification whenever mankind strayed too far from the bounds of morality. These visions, though ancient, still send chills down the spine of today's readers when compared with our reality. Abnormal natural disasters, the decay of morality, wars erupting, and human hearts growing cold. The Anunnaki and the birth of mankind. In Mesopotamian mythology, humans were not created to rule, but to serve. Sumerian texts recount that the Igigi, the lower-ranking gods who toiled endlessly in the mines for gold, rebelled against their burden. To resolve this, the Anunnaki decided to create a new species to bear the work. The first human was called Adamu, fashioned from clay mixed with the blood of a sacrificed god. The name Adamu resonates with the Hebrew word Adama, meaning earth or clay, echoing the biblical story. The Lord God formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. Researcher Zechariah Sitchin proposed a bold hypothesis. Eden was not a lush garden, but a base of operations, or perhaps a massive mobile laboratory, of the Anunnaki in Mesopotamia, possibly the city of Eridu, regarded as the first city of mankind. During the great cataclysm that followed, the god Enki, who favored granting knowledge to humanity, secretly warned Ziusudra in Sumerian myth, or Utnapishtim in the Epic of Gilgamesh, corresponding to Noah in the Bible. Enki instructed him to build a great vessel to survive the flood. This detail bridges Sumerian myth, Babylonian epic, and the biblical tale of Noah. Enoch, ancient wisdom and a message for the present. In many ancient writings, Enoch is not only depicted as a prophet, but also as a scribe, the one who laid the foundation of writing and the earliest conceptual knowledge of mankind. Some scholars believe he was the first to develop the art of writing, turning thought into speech and speech into text. Ancient manuscripts such as Sehalo, Sephanok, and Horabati are believed to carry the imprint of Enoch or his spiritual successors. He also passed down wisdom to his son Methuselah, teaching him how to live righteously, discern good from evil, and remain faithful in a decaying world. These teachings were like a guide for life, written as if he knew that future humanity would need them more than ever. For Enoch, knowledge was not merely for understanding, but a form of worship, a path drawing mankind closer to the Creator. And through the writings he left behind, we do not only learn about the past, but also how to face the future. Prophecy and a warning for humanity. If what Enoch recorded was not mere mythology, but a warning for the future, then the greatest question is this: are we living in the very age he once foresaw? Enoch described a time when humanity would turn away from truth, glorify evil, and sever its bond with the Creator. An age of spiritual darkness, when the fallen angels would return to sow chaos, and greed and violence would drive mankind to the brink of destruction. Yet he also wrote, "Only those who remain faithful, humble, and steadfast in truth will endure the trials, not through weapons or power, but through the light of faith." What makes Enoch's message extraordinary is its relevance. Though written thousands of years ago, every word seems to reflect today's reality. What was once dismissed as fantasy is now regarded as part of a buried prophecy. Perhaps it is our very generation, those who are now revisiting the Book of Enoch, who are chosen to answer that question. The Anunnaki and the Sumerian civilization. Today we lift the veil on one of history's greatest mysteries. The Anunnaki, enigmatic beings mentioned in humanity's earliest ancient texts. They are said to have set foot on Earth from a distant planet, and more than that, may have created us ourselves. If the Anunnaki truly once came to Earth and intervened in human origins, could it be that they left no trace behind? Are there monuments, images, or even secrets hidden within our very DNA that silently recount the story of their presence? Let us explore the immense fingerprints these gods may have left scattered across the planet. Could a primitive civilization have achieved such feats with nothing but manpower and crude tools? Or did they receive assistance from a technology far beyond our imagination? Supporters of the Anunnaki hypothesis believe that it was they who built, or at least guided the building of, these structures for purposes far greater than mere tombs. And not only in Egypt, on other continents, we find similar wonders that continue to baffle scientists. For example, the Great Pyramid of Cholula in Mexico, the largest pyramid in the world by volume, or the city of Teotihuacan, known as the City of the Gods, with its astonishingly precise astronomical alignments. One great question remains. Could the traces of the Anunnaki lie not only in giant monuments and ancient carvings, but also hidden deep within our genetic code? What caused us, creatures who once behaved like great apes, to suddenly evolve at lightning speed? Mainstream science has no definitive explanation. Yet proponents of the Anunnaki theory suggest that it was they who set the stage for humanity's sudden leap. According to this theory, the Anunnaki combined their DNA with that of hominids, thereby creating the first humans. A strange piece of evidence in human biology is chromosome 2, fused from 2 ancestral chromosomes, a feature absent in other primates. Could this have been a deliberate intervention, a genetic signature left by the creators? Furthermore, about 98% of human DNA is non-coding DNA, its true purpose still unknown. Could this be a library of information from the Anunnaki, waiting for humanity to advance far enough to decode it and uncover the full story of our extraterrestrial origins? The Great Flood, the disappearance, and prophecies of return. If the Anunnaki truly created us, then why did they leave? And what became of those mighty gods? The story may be more tragic and unsettling than you think. It revolves around a cataclysm that forever changed the face of Earth and the destiny of mankind. We know that the Anunnaki created humans to serve them. At first, all seemed well. Humanity multiplied, forming a vast labor force to shoulder the gods' burdens. But over time, things began to change. The human population grew rapidly, along with behaviors the Anunnaki considered rebellious and chaotic. The creators grew weary and disillusioned with their creation. In a cold and ruthless decision, the leaders of the Anunnaki pronounced a terrifying judgment: to wipe out all of mankind with a great flood, a global purge to erase what they had made. When the waters receded, the earth lay in ruin, a desolate world. The Anunnaki were forced to reconsider their actions. They decided not to annihilate humanity entirely. Instead, they taught the survivors how to rebuild civilization. But survival came at a heavy price. The Anunnaki altered human DNA once more, this time not to enhance intelligence, but to limit our lifespan, to prevent overpopulation, and to make us easier to control. In addition, humanity lost certain advanced physical and cognitive abilities that the Anunnaki had originally bestowed. Was this their way of ensuring that we could never again challenge their power? As the Anunnaki's planet Nibiru gradually stabilized, their need for Earth's gold diminished. Combined with internal conflicts and struggles for power among their leaders, especially between Enki and Enlil, a bitter truth unfolded. The Anunnaki began to withdraw from Earth. The ships that once soared across the skies slowly vanished. The gods who once walked among men faded into the shadows. Yet before disappearing completely, according to Zecharia Sitchin's hypothesis, the Anunnaki did not entirely abandon control. Instead of ruling directly, they appointed the first human kings, who would serve as their earthly representatives of divine authority. Ancient Sumerian texts describe in detail how this power was passed to these chosen rulers. What happened to the advanced technology of the Anunnaki? One theory suggests that the Anunnaki possessed the ability of instantaneous travel or the use of interdimensional gateways. Such technology might explain how they traversed planets in short spans of time, or the recurring myths across cultures of portals to the underworld. Found in Mesopotamia's Iskala, in Greco-Roman Githonium, in the Maya's Xibalba, and in Egypt's Duat. Could these gateways have been physical entrances to other dimensions manipulated by the Anunnaki? Ancient architectural structures, such as the ziggurats of Sumer and Babylon, have also been reconsidered in this light. Though not as massive as the Great Pyramid of Giza, the tiered design of these ziggurats is interpreted by some as platforms for spacecraft landings, or colossal beacons to guide ships from the heavens. If so, could the traces of the Anunnaki still exist somewhere on Earth, awaiting discovery? One of the most mysterious and least explored places on the planet is Antarctica. Curiously, certain ancient maps from the 16th century, such as those of Orontius Phineas and Piri Reis, appear to depict Antarctica with ice-free coastlines. How could cartographers of that era have known such details when Antarctica was not officially discovered and fully mapped until the 19th century? While mainstream science dismisses this as speculation, approximation, or coincidence, proponents of the extraterrestrial hypothesis raise another possibility. Could there be a secret Anunnaki base or a buried ancient civilization beneath Antarctica's eternal ice? Geological and magnetic anomalies, along with what seem to be aligned pyramids or cave-like formations found there, have only fueled speculation about hidden structures beneath the frozen continent. This leads to an even bolder hypothesis. Graham Hancock has suggested that UFOs and their entities may not come from outer space at all, but from a hidden civilization that has coexisted with humanity for millennia. They may dwell in the oceans, mountains, or deep underground, equipped with technology far beyond our own, enabling them to remain undetected. Could these traditional UFO phenomena be remnants of the Anunnaki or their descendants, still watching us from the shadows, awaiting the proper moment? After all that we have explored, one profound question remains. Will the Anunnaki ever return to Earth? Some interpretations of ancient Sumerian tablets seem to imply that the Anunnaki may indeed return, and that such an event would bring irreversible changes to humanity. The return of the Anunnaki could also mark the beginning of official contact between mankind and other galactic civilizations. The Anunnaki may not be the only extraterrestrial beings in the cosmos, but rather members of a vast network of advanced species. Traces beyond the Bible. A series of ancient tombs and temples have been unearthed, including papyrus scrolls that record the journey of the soul. One such text, chapter 17 of the Egyptian Book of the Dead, describes an afterlife full of trials, where the soul must pass mystical beings and spiritual gates to attain immortality. In the necropolis of Saqqara, archaeologists discovered a mysterious temple believed to belong to the goddess Neith, the wife and daughter of King Teti, who died more than 4,200 years ago. The temple contained 22 burial shafts with over 54 wooden coffins, dozens of mummies, Ushabti figurines, wooden boats with detailed crews. These artifacts reveal a profound belief in the afterlife, in the need for guidance to overcome the traps of the spirit world. Even more astonishingly, nearby papyri fragments described beings of light hovering in the skies over Lower Egypt, luminous, fiery discs flying in formation. This mysterious manuscript was once copied by the director of the Egyptian Museum in 1933, then slipped into obscurity. When speaking of the greatest ancient architectural achievements, one cannot ignore the pyramids of Giza in Egypt. With extraordinary precision, the sides of the Great Pyramid align almost perfectly with the four cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west. Some studies even suggest that they align with the constellation Orion, a star cluster sacred to many ancient cultures. The challenge lies in the claim that, according to archaeologists, the pyramid was built in about 20 years with millions of massive stone blocks weighing tens of tons each. Consider also the Ubaid statues discovered in the ancient city of Ur in Mesopotamia. These figures depict human-like beings with elongated faces, large eyes, and pointed heads, appearing more reptilian or extraterrestrial than human. Could these be portraits of mysterious visitors who once walked among them? Far away in northwestern Australia, the Wandjina paintings of the Aboriginal culture serve as another vivid testimony. They are regarded as ancestral spirit beings who descended from the sky. Egypt has never lacked mystery, but in recent years, a wave of successive archaeological discoveries has ignited fierce debate not only among historians, but also among theologians. One of the most astonishing finds was the excavation of a tomb more than 43,000 years old in Saqqara, near the pyramids of Giza. Inside, archaeologists discovered 12 statues carved deep underground, along with a nearly intact mummy. This is one of the rare ancient mummies that still preserve the full structure of the body. Most striking of all, the person buried was a royal overseer as well as a priest serving in the pyramid of King Unas. These stories are not merely legends. They are inscribed in the oldest cuneiform texts we have ever found. A vast treasure of knowledge about an age we thought existed only in dreams. Among these texts stand out the Babylonian Atrahasis epic, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and Enuma Elish. These works recount a narrative that has sent shivers down the spines of many researchers. The Great Flood and the renewal of humanity. Nearly all ancient civilizations, from the Judeo-Christian Bible, the Sumerian Epic of Gilgamesh, Greek and Indian mythology, to the legends of the Maya, preserve a common memory, a colossal flood that submerged the world. The Great Flood does not appear sporadically, but consistently across cultures, as if it were a collective imprint transcending time and space. In the Bible, the story of Noah building an ark to save his family and the animals has become immortal. In Sumer, Utnapishtim in the Epic of Gilgamesh also received a divine warning and built a great vessel to escape destruction. In India, the god Vishnu, in the form of a fish, foretold the disaster to Manu. In the Americas, the Maya and Inca spoke of raging waters that swept away the old world. This striking similarity has led many scholars to suggest that the Great Flood may have been a real event, perhaps caused by the melting of ice at the end of the Ice Age, a volcanic eruption, an earthquake-triggered tsunami, or, according to more esoteric theories, an orchestrated act by powerful entities to reset humanity. A great question arises: what was the role of the Anunnaki in this story? Some ancient texts suggest that it was they who warned certain humans, selecting the survivors to ensure the continuation of mankind after the catastrophe. This raises the hypothesis that we, the present generation, are not the first humanity, but the result of multiple cycles of destruction and recreation. Seen in this light, the Great Flood was not merely a natural disaster, but a turning point. It marked the end of one age and the dawn of a new humanity. This is the bridge between ancient myth and modern science. If the legends reflect a collective memory, then science may explain them through geological, climatic, and archaeological evidence. And from here, the next chapter will lead us into the comparison between ancient beliefs and modern knowledge, to uncover what the past has truly left for the present. A modern science and the unanswered mysteries. If one day they were to return, the first consequence might not be war, but rather the unveiling of a truth hidden for millennia, the true origin of humankind. We would face an unprecedented existential shock, realizing that humanity may not be entirely the product of natural evolution, but rather the result of a grand genetic manipulation carried out by beings from beyond. It would be a moment that shakes the very foundation of civilization. Who are we? Where did we come from? And what is our true purpose in this universe? Once these questions are raised, they would no longer belong merely to religious texts or ancient myths, but become the central issue of all humanity. Scientific theories, philosophies, and theologies might have to be rewritten from the ground up. And this is not the sole prophecy of the Book of Enoch or Mesopotamian texts. Across the world, distant tribes, separated by geography and culture, share a strange common memory, that of visitors from the sky, the Hopi and the Star Children. The Hopi, an indigenous tribe in the American Southwest, preserve the story of the Kachina, spirits who came from the stars. In their tradition, there is mention of the Star Children, descendants of celestial beings, sent down to help humanity restore balance to the world. According to the Hopi, mankind has already passed through several worlds before entering the present one. Each time a world collapsed, through war, natural disaster, or moral corruption, the Star Children appeared to guide humanity into a new age. The Hopi believe that a fifth world is soon to emerge. After this fourth world ends in chaos and darkness, their rock carvings depict strange beings with large heads, round eyes, and garments resembling those of ancient astronauts. Is this merely coincidence or a collective memory of an ancient encounter? The Dogon and the secret of the Sirius system. Meanwhile, in Africa, amid the deserts of Mali, the Dogon people carry within their rituals a treasure of astronomical knowledge that astonishes the world. In their sacred traditions, they speak of the Nomo, amphibious beings who came from the Sirius star system, descending to Earth in blazing ships of light. The Nomo are described as masters of cosmic wisdom, who taught the Dogon about the movements of the stars, agriculture, medicine, and even the nature of the soul. What astonishes modern science is this: the Dogon knew of Sirius B, a white dwarf orbiting Sirius A with a 50-year cycle, centuries before Western astronomy discovered it with telescopes. How could an isolated agrarian tribe in West Africa possess such advanced knowledge? Their answer is simple. We were taught by visitors from the sky, a symphony of humanity's memory. The Hopi, the Dogon, the Sumerians, the Egyptians, the Indians, and countless lost civilizations all tell of gods descending to Earth. Though their languages and symbols differ, the core narrative remains the same. Once upon a time, humanity was not alone. Could this be a grand symphony of humanity's memory, as scattered fragments from distant cultures slowly come together to form one larger picture? A picture suggesting that our ancestors looked up at the heavens and saw not only stars, but flesh and blood beings who came down to Earth. The question for the present. As modern science continues to unravel the mysteries of the cosmos, from gravitational waves to exoplanets, these ancient traditions no longer seem so far-fetched. We stand at a crossroads, either dismiss them as myth or accept that the past may be far more complex than we have been taught. And if one day the visitors were to return, they would bring not only technology, but also truth. A truth that could force humanity to rewrite its history, its philosophy, its science, and even its faith. Then the eternal question would resound once more, this time with undeniable force. Who are we truly in this vast universe? The return of the Anunnaki. In many ancient texts, from the Book of Enoch in Jewish tradition, to Sumerian legends inscribed on clay tablets, to cryptic prophecies in various religions, there exists a shared notion. One day there will be a reunion between humanity and beings from the heavens. These writings do not merely describe a distant past, but also embed within human memory an obsession with their return. And the greatest, most haunting questions continue to echo. If the Anunnaki truly once walked the earth, will they return? And if they do, how will the fate of humanity be transformed? Traces in ancient texts. In the Book of Enoch, the image of fallen angels, punished yet with a promise of judgment, suggests a vision of the reappearance of mighty beings. Not only as punishment for the wicked, but also as a moment when humanity must directly face what was sown in its earliest days. The Sumerians, the world's first known civilization, remembered the Anunnaki not merely as creators, but as overseers, beings who came and went, leaving behind laws, cities, knowledge, and then disappearing according to some mysterious cycle. Their cuneiform inscriptions indicate that they never remained forever, but always had the power to return. In Greek mythology, the gods departed from Olympus, leaving a vow that they would return when humanity lost its sacred order. The Maya told of the departure of Kukulkan and Quetzalcoatl, feathered serpents who promised to return in a new age. In Egypt, the myth of Osiris carried the hope of resurrection and the gods' return. Everywhere, from east to west, from South America to Africa, the same belief resounds. The gods left, but it was not a final farewell. One day they will return. Modern hypotheses, ancient astronaut theorists, suggest that if the Anunnaki were indeed an extraterrestrial race, their return might unfold under several possible scenarios. 1. Astronomical cycles. Some propose that the Anunnaki came from a distant planet with a massive elliptical orbit called Nibiru. This cycle may last thousands of years, and only when it swings close to Earth could the Anunnaki reappear. Each approach marks a new chapter in human history. One time to sow seeds, another to harvest, and perhaps one day to judge. 2. Remote surveillance. If the Anunnaki once intervened in human evolution, perhaps they never truly abandoned us. Like scientists observing an experiment, they may still monitor from afar, waiting for humanity to reach a certain threshold, whether nuclear power, artificial intelligence, or interstellar travel, before intervening again. 3. Restoring order. Many traditions see the return of gods as an act of purification. Just as the Great Flood was once seen as a tool to restart humanity, the Anunnaki's return could be a global judgment, a trial in which mankind is tested, sorted, and only a remnant chosen to enter a new age. The meaning for humanity. If such a return were to occur, it could bring visions both glorious and terrifying. A shattering revelation. Humanity would be forced to rewrite all history, realizing we are not the sole offspring of evolution, but the result of a cosmic project. Religion, science, and philosophy would all be shaken to their core. A double-edged intervention. They might grant us knowledge, technology, and infinite energy, but also impose a new order, control us, or even reshape humanity according to their will. Would we be partners or slaves? A symbolic event. Even without physical presence, belief in their return could awaken humanity. It would force us to examine ourselves. Are we still worthy of being the image of the gods, or have we already lost ourselves to ambition and violence? An apocalypse, yet unwritten. Perhaps the return of the Anunnaki is not merely a historical event, but an apocalypse awaiting its unveiling. In myths, legends, and forgotten texts like the Book of Enoch, a message is hidden. Humanity is not alone. Humanity has never solely determined its destiny. And when the gates of heaven open once again, the history of mankind will turn a new page. The question is not whether they will return, but rather, when they do, will we stand before them as trembling children, or as a civilization mature enough to face our cosmic fathers? Conclusion. The legacy of myth in the open question. Looking back over the entire flow of the narrative, from the Bible, the Book of Enoch, the Sumerian and Babylonian tablets, the great Egyptian pyramids, the towering ziggurats, to the legends of the Great Flood, and even the mysteries that modern science still cannot unravel, it becomes clear that human history has never been as simple as what is written in school textbooks. The ancient myths, instead of being mere products of a primitive imagination, seem to be faint, distorted memories rooted in reality. Hidden behind the tales of descending gods, of judgment, and of the repeated remaking of humankind, there may lie actual events, supernatural encounters, perhaps even direct interventions by entities that later generations called by many names: fallen angels, the gods, or the Anunnaki. Their legacy is not confined to mythology. It permeates religion, shaping beliefs that have endured for thousands of years. It stands embodied in colossal architecture, from Giza to Ur, that continues to baffle modern science. It lingers within language, through symbols, syllables, and oral traditions that have transcended time. And perhaps it even dwells within the very DNA of humanity, encoded in genetic sequences not yet fully understood. Yet amid all these layers of legacy, the greatest questions remain unanswered. Where do we truly come from? If humanity has already been recreated after global cataclysms such as the Great Flood, then which cycle of existence are we living in now? And will the entities that once walked among us truly return in the future, as prophecies and legends have proclaimed? Perhaps humankind will never grasp the full truth, but it is the very act of seeking, of asking, that defines the essence of being human. Should the Anunnaki or any gods one day return, humanity may finally find its answers. Yet even if that day never comes, it is the endless pursuit of knowledge that remains the eternal flame of our species. The legacy of Enoch, of Sumer, of Egypt, of the Maya, and of countless lost civilizations is a reminder that our history has never been linear. It is a multi-layered tapestry where reality and myth, science and belief are interwoven, stretching far beyond the limits of ordinary imagination. And thus, this conclusion is not a final period, but an open question, an epic inquiry that transcends time and space. Are we truly alone in the universe? Or are the ancient gods merely waiting for the moment to return?